The Silent Watchers. The Gathering Storm. The Krell Empire had ruled the outer spiral for 3,000 cycles. Their war fleets stretched across star systems like iron chains, binding hundreds of worlds under their clawed fists. They were apex predators, born in volcanic forges, raised on conquest. Fear was their currency. Domination was their religion. But the Krell were bored. War had become routine. Planets surrendered before shots were fired. Species knelt at the mere sight of their dreadnoughts. Victory without struggle bred restlessness among the warrior caste. They craved something new, something dangerous. That's when the hunting games began. The prize. High Commander Thrax stood before the War Council, his crimson scales gleaming under cold starlight. Behind him, holographic images displayed a small blue world rotating peacefully in the darkness. Earth, he announced. Home to a species called humans. Primitive. No interstellar fleet. No planetary shields. Perfect prey. The council members clicked their mandibles in approval. One elder warrior leaned forward, his scars telling stories of 100 conquests. What makes them worthy of the hunt, he asked. Thrax smiled, revealing rows of serrated teeth. They fight each other constantly. Wars over invisible lines, over resources, over ideas. They're aggressive, territorial, and utterly unaware they're being watched. They'll provide excellent sport. The council voted unanimously. The great hunt would begin. First contact was a lie. The Krell arrived at Earth's moon under the guise of explorers. Their translation algorithms worked perfectly as they broadcast messages of peace and friendship. World leaders gathered. Cameras flashed. Humanity celebrated. We come bearing knowledge, Thrax told the assembled diplomats, his voice smooth as poison. We wish to share the wonders of the galaxy with you. Behind closed doors, the Krell laughed. They studied human settlements, mapped population centers, catalogued weapons. They noted how humans argued even during first contact, how their nations competed for alien attention. Weak. Divided. Perfect. The Krell spent 6 months establishing trust. They shared minor technologies, medical scanners, water purification systems, renewable energy designs. Humanity gobbled it up, grateful and naive. Then, on a moonless night, the Krell fleet departed Earth's orbit. The hunting packs arrived 3 days later. The first hunts. It began in isolated areas. A village in Norway vanished overnight. A research station in Antarctica went silent. A small town in Argentina reported lights in the sky, then nothing. Governments scrambled to understand. Was it terrorism? Natural disasters? The Krell ambassadors had left no warning, no explanation. The truth emerged slowly, horribly. A Krell warrior named Vex recorded his first human hunt and broadcast it across the Empire's entertainment networks. The footage showed him stalking a family through dense forest, toying with them, letting them run. When he finally struck, the kill was swift but theatrical. Millions of Krell watched. The ratings were extraordinary. More hunting packs descended. They took humans from cities now, more boldly. The game had rules. Hunters could only use traditional weapons, blades, spears, occasionally energy bows. No ships, no orbital strikes. The challenge was in the chase, the fear, the final moment when prey realized escape was impossible. Humanity panicked. Military forces mobilized, but how do you fight an enemy that strikes from orbit, lands anywhere, and vanishes before reinforcements arrive? The Krell were faster, stronger, equipped with personal shields and cloaking devices. Within weeks, thousands of humans had disappeared. Within months, the number reached hundreds of thousands. The Krell Empire celebrated. Entertainment networks expanded coverage. Betting pools opened. Young warriors competed for the honor of hunting on Earth. The first mistake. Commander Vex grew careless. Success made him bold. He landed his small craft in northern Canada, planning to hunt a group of loggers he'd been tracking. Easy targets. Isolated. Afraid. What Vex didn't know was that this logging crew included 3 former Special Forces soldiers who'd taken civilian jobs after military service. Men who'd survived wars in deserts and jungles, who understood ambush tactics and guerrilla warfare. When Vex activated his cloak and entered the forest, he expected to find panicked prey. Instead, he found traps. Primitive but effective, tripwires, deadfalls, concealed pits. He avoided the first 3 easily. The 4th was different. The explosion wasn't large, just enough to disrupt his personal shield for 3 seconds. 3 seconds was all they needed. Bullets don't care about honor or superior genetics. At close range, concentrated fire from military-grade rifles turned Vex's armor into Swiss cheese. He died confused, unable to comprehend how primitive weapons could defeat him. The humans stripped his body of technology. They studied everything: the cloaking device, the energy bow, the communication implant still connected to the Krell fleet. And through that implant, they learned the horrible truth: this wasn't war. It was sport. Humans weren't enemies, they were game animals. The word spreads. The Canadian incident wasn't isolated. A Krell hunter in Brazil was killed by farmers using improvised explosives. Another died in the Australian outback, caught by indigenous trackers who knew the land better than any alien ever could. The kills were rare at first, but each one taught humanity something new. Krell were strong but not invincible. Their shields failed under sustained fire. Their sensors couldn't detect humans hiding in lead-lined structures or deep underground. Most importantly, the Krell were arrogant. They underestimated their prey. Former soldiers began training civilians in guerrilla tactics. Engineers reverse-engineered captured Krell technology. Scientists developed countermeasures to their scanning equipment. The internet became a global database of Krell weaknesses, updated hourly. Humanity stopped running. They started preparing. The second mistake. The Krell noticed the increased resistance but dismissed it as meaningless. So their prey learned a few tricks that only made the hunt more interesting. High Commander Thrax approved an expansion. Instead of small hunting parties, they would send battalion-sized forces. Entire regions would become hunting preserves. The entertainment value would skyrocket. Thrax personally led the first major incursion. 300 Krell warriors descended on Southeast Asia, planning a massive hunt across multiple countries. They expected fear. They found fury. The humans had been watching, learning, waiting. When the Krell landed, they walked into a coordinated defense unlike anything the Empire had ever encountered. The jungle itself became a weapon. Humans struck from trees, from underground tunnels, from buildings that exploded after Krell entered. They used the Krell's own technology against them. Captured cloaking devices let human snipers pick off isolated hunters. Thrax watched his forces die one by one, killed by prey that refused to behave like prey. When retreat became necessary, he'd lost 2/3 of his battalion. The footage that reached Krell networks wasn't entertainment anymore. It was a warning that nobody wanted to hear. The Empire chooses. In the War Council chambers, debate raged for the first time in centuries. Some demanded immediate extermination of Earth, orbital bombardment, biological weapons, complete annihilation. Others argued for withdrawal, for finding easier prey. Thrax refused both options. "We cannot appear weak," he declared. "If one primitive species defeats us, every conquered world will rise in rebellion. We hunt until humans are extinct or broken. There is no other choice." The council voted for escalation. Not just warriors now, the full might of the Krell military. Warships, orbital platforms, mechanized ground forces. They would teach humanity what it meant to defy the apex predators of the galaxy. What the Krell didn't know, what they couldn't possibly know, was that humanity had one final advantage: when pushed to extinction, humans don't break. They evolve, the builders awaken. The underground network. Beneath abandoned cities and hollowed mountains, humanity built something the Krell couldn't see from orbit, hope. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in a converted subway station that now served as a research facility. Around her, scientists from every nation worked side by side, nationalities forgotten in the face of extinction. The captured Krell technology lay disassembled on tables like puzzle pieces waiting to reveal their secrets. "We've been approaching this wrong," Sarah announced to her team. "We keep trying to understand their technology from an engineering perspective. But look at this power cell, the energy signature is familiar." Her colleague, Dr. James Martinez, frowned. "Familiar how?" "It matches readings from the Antarctic ice cores. And the ones from that archaeological site in Turkey. The one we thought was impossible because it's 12,000 years old." The room went silent. Everyone understood what Sarah wasn't saying directly. The implications were too massive, too terrifying. "The Krell didn't invent this technology," Sarah continued quietly. "They found it. Just like we're finding it. But we're finding it in our own archaeological record." The message from below. The discovery came 3 weeks later in underwater ruins off the coast of Japan. A research submarine investigating anomalous readings found structures that predated known human civilization by millennia. And within those structures, still functioning after thousands of years, was a message. Not words. Not images. Pure information downloaded directly into the researchers' minds the moment they touched the crystalline interface. Humanity was not what they believed. The message showed Earth's true history, how ancient humans had reached the stars long before recorded history, how they'd built a vast network spanning galaxies, how they'd seeded life and technology across countless worlds before choosing to sleep, to let their children grow naturally without interference. The Krell technology wasn't Krell at all. It was human. Degraded, corrupted by thousands of years of misuse and ignorance, but fundamentally human in origin. Every species in the galaxy was using tools they'd scavenged from humanity's ruins, never knowing who had built them. The activation. Sarah Chen stood before a global council of military leaders and scientists, her hands shaking as she displayed the findings. "We're not primitives," she said. "We're the descendants of the builders. The first starfaring race. Everything the Krell use, everything they think makes them superior, we made it. We just forgot." "And now?" a general asked bluntly. Sarah pulled up schematics recovered from sites across Earth. "Now we remember. These sites aren't archaeological curiosities. They're sleeper technology, waiting for activation codes that only human DNA can provide. Our ancestors left us an inheritance. They left us weapons." The activation began worldwide. In deserts and oceans, beneath ice and stone, ancient systems woke at humanity's touch. Defensive grids millennia old came online. Fabrication facilities began producing equipment from blueprints older than civilization. Most significantly, they found the ships. The fleet that time forgot. The vessels emerged from beneath the Pacific Ocean, from underground caverns, from dimensional pockets hidden in plain sight. Not primitive rockets but sleek craft built with principles that made Krell technology look like children's toys. Captain Marcus Webb stood on the bridge of the first reactivated ship, the Prometheus, feeling the neural interface connect with his mind. The ship didn't just respond to commands, it understood intention. "Status?" he asked the empty air. The ship answered in a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. "Systems optimal. Weapon arrays charging. Welcome home, Commander." "Home? Your genetic pattern is recognized. You are descended from Captain Elizabeth Webb, who captained this vessel 7,000 years ago. Welcome aboard." Marcus swallowed hard. "How many ships are operational?" "Currently?" 43 and increasing hourly as more humans activate dormant vessels. "Eventually?" "Thousands." The Krell's fatal discovery. High Commander Thrax received the report with confusion turning to horror. Human vessels were appearing across their solar system. Not crude rockets but warships that moved through space like thoughts, that disappeared and reappeared at will, that seemed to bend physics itself. Impossible, he breathed. They had no fleet 3 months ago. How? His science officer's voice trembled. Commander, these vessels, they're appearing everywhere. Not just in human space. They're emerging from dead worlds we conquered centuries ago. From ruins we've been excavating for decades. They were always there. Waiting. Thrax pulled up historical records, things the Krell had dismissed as mythology. Stories of the first makers, the silent builders, the ancient race that had supposedly created the network of habitable worlds and left technology scattered across the galaxy before vanishing. The humans hadn't been hiding. They'd been sleeping. And the Krell had just made them wake up. The counterattack. The first Krell battle group to encounter a human fleet learned a terrible lesson: you cannot hunt what hunts you better. Captain Webb's Prometheus appeared directly in the center of their formation, ignoring shields and spatial locks. The Krell fired everything. The human ship simply wasn't there when the weapons arrived, occupying a slightly different point in spacetime. Then the Prometheus fired back. The weapon wasn't a beam or a missile. It was a restructuring field that reminded matter what shape it used to be. 3 Krell warships suddenly found themselves as asteroids, their components reverting to the raw materials they'd been forged from. The remaining Krell vessels tried to retreat. The human ship let them go, but not before transmitting a message across all frequencies. You hunted us for sport. You made our children afraid. You laughed while we died. Now you know fear. Now you learn what humanity really is. The message ended with coordinates, the location of every Krell hunting party on Earth. Within 72 hours, every single one was dead. The reckoning. The Krell Empire fractured. World after world that they'd conquered looked up to see human ships in orbit, not threatening, just watching. The message was clear: the old masters had returned. Some Krell leaders advocated for continued war. They were quietly removed by others who understood that warfare against a species that had literally built the galaxy was suicide. Thrax himself led the delegation to Earth, no longer a conqueror but a supplicant. He knelt before representatives of humanity, his pride broken, and spoke the words that changed galactic history. We beg forgiveness. We did not know. We did not understand. Mercy, builders. Mercy. Sarah Chen, now humanity's spokesperson to the galaxy, looked at the broken warrior with something approaching pity. You hunted us because you thought we were weak. You found out we're not. But here's what you still don't understand, she gestured to the assembly of humans behind her, common people from every nation. Strength isn't why you should have left us alone. Basic decency is. We were never your prey. We were never anyone's prey. We're people. Remember that. The New Dawn. The Krell Empire became the Krell Republic, their warrior culture gradually transforming under human guidance. Other species that had used the ancient technology without knowing its origin now understood they were children playing with parents' tools. Humanity didn't conquer. They didn't need to. They simply took their place as the builders returned, not to rule but to guide, to teach, to protect those who needed protecting. But they also remembered. Every name of every human taken in the hunts was recorded in monuments across Earth. Never forgotten. Never forgiven, but released. On the bridge of the Prometheus, Captain Webb looked out at the galaxy his ancestors had built and made a promise: no species would ever be hunted like animals again. The builders were awake, and they would not sleep again until the galaxy was safe. The Krell had made a simple mistake: they thought humans were prey. They learned, too late, that humanity was never the hunted. They were always the shepherds, and the galaxy was their flock.